Hey, I'm very happy to be here with you, and thanks a lot for the invitation. I would like to dedicate the next 30 minutes so we can together have an overview on what is the impact that AI and machine learning already have in our life and in our business. And I also want to touch a few of the essential elements, at least the ones I think it's essential for us that are interested in building AI machine learning solutions. So does that sound good for you? Yeah? Okay. So let's start. I selected a few real cases because it's always good to land the speech, especially when we talk about AI. There's a lot of theory and not a lot of real great success. And sometimes it's important for us to bring the solutions that already brought impact to the industry. But before starting with them, I would like to give a little bit of background on some things that are really important when we think about AI. And when I think about AI, we have to have a holistic view. AI, it's about amplification. It's about allowing us to do more, to think about curing diseases that in the past we couldn't, or simply communicate in any language. So it's about amplifying human and not replacing. So the other technology revolutions, if we can say that, always brought something of optimization, of replacement. That's not the case about AI. And hopefully my examples will reinforce that idea. But the second point is giving the potential that this technology that all of us have to really change our society, we need to think about democratizing the access to it. So we need to make it available or to facilitate the access of this technology to everybody. It could be the people in this room and outside the room, startups, big companies, single developers, whatever. And finally, we want a technology that we can trust. And lately there has been a lot of discussions on data privacy, Facebook, GDPR in Europe. So this is a hot theme and we need to be very sensitive to that. So let's start with some real examples. The first one is from China, and it's really, really simple in terms of implementation. You will notice, but also notice the social impact that already have. Sorry, few adjustments. Yeah. Oh, there's subtitle, so this one can go silent. Ah.
And it's very hard to imagine if my doctor gets lost. 2 years ago, I have an idea that Microsoft technology can help NGOs like Baby Come Home to achieve more.
因為照料那麼多年嘛，應該照料那麼多地方，介紹到寶貝回家。
After 3 or 4 years, the face may be changed, but the application can scan the picture database and help us to verify whether they are the same person. Within seconds, we can get the result.
So this solution was pretty cool because although parents always recognize their children even after many years, the people in these organizations couldn't after some years because, of course, the characteristics change. But as we know, there are some interesting proportions that we can identify in the and important points in the face that we can identify, and that won't change along the years. So the second solution is from Brazil, is in the oncoclínicas, and basically what you see in the screen is unfortunately it's a MR scan with a tumor, and when someone has this condition, they have to go through radiotherapy, and when the doctors plan the radiotherapy, they need to find the borders and draw on the borders, and they usually do that frame by frame in order to create the 3D model. And of course, that it's pretty easy to be mistakes in precision, and it takes a long time, almost an hour, because they need to do that not only for the tumors but for the healthy organs in order to protect them. So we just train a few machine learning models with those images, and basically the work, we added a lot of speed in this process. The doctors still are the decision maker. They have the 3D model and they do some final adjustments. That's why I think about amplification. We're not replacing doctors, but we are allowing them to be more precise and to do more of this. So those are the 3D models that in the end are generated, and we do that for the healthy organs too. So this is pretty cool. It's in production in oncoclínicas here in Brazil. The second case, it's also from Brazil. We are in Brazil, so I brought some local case. It's in 9 de Julho, and this solution was built in our research lab in Rio de Janeiro. It's also pretty cool.
Primeiro a gente teve que ensinar para o computador o que é um leito, o que é uma cama num quarto de hospital. Coletamos milhares de imagens do próprio hospital, mas também de fora, que é da própria internet. Uma das partes mais interessantes e mais desafiadoras, identificar não situações estáticas, mas ações.
O que era uma grade abaixada, o que era uma grade levantada, o que era um decúbito elevado. Nós tivemos um voluntariado muito grande, as pessoas muito entusiasmadas, porque quem trabalha na área da saúde quer fazer uma assistência segura do paciente.
Então a gente alavanca a câmeras comerciais normais, sem necessidade de grande resolução, de nada disso. A gente alavanca tecnologias padrão e a gente envia essa informação para ser processada numa nuvem e gerar alertas em tempo real para os enfermeiros.
Com esse novo sistema, a gente tem uma vantagem muito grande, que é ter o ramal móvel, né? Onde, independente de onde o enfermeiro estiver, ele consegue saber que naquele quarto tem um paciente que fez um movimento colocando ele em risco de queda. Então, a gente tem uma otimização do tempo de enfermagem para a entrega do cuidado do paciente.
So, although we have CNTK, that's our toolkit, we are pre-agnostic on toolkits, and we use whatever. And so the solution was, we used initially Café. The other solution that was done in Brazil, and this was really fun, is the eye control wheelchair. There was some media a few months ago. This is not a new project. We started in 2014. It was a project to support this former football player, Steve something, I forgot the name. But we expanded the project here in Brazil in order to learn about some repeated or repeatable movements, and to record it, and eventually to learn some of the patterns. I'm moving fast because there's a lot. So the last case that I want to show you is it's also in an important moment, as we see some areas of conflict like Syria. We know that there are some historical places that we want to preserve, and they are under danger. So this solution really has a vision of how to preserve whatever we have today for the next generation.
If you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you go. We use Microsoft AI to help us reproduce historical places.
I need to make it possible because it's so important to do it. To recreate the site, we had to stitch hundreds of pictures, one by one.
With Microsoft Artificial Intelligence,
We are able to stitch hundreds of thousands of pictures in one night. Before, it was just a representation of the site. With this technology, you can go in, you can experience it.
let's go in another place. I'm ready for the next one.
Cool. So hopefully we can understand this concept of amplification and why we are at this particular moment. There are some important forces that are driving that. First, and this we all know, first, we have data available. Whatever we are doing today, it's not new. So machine learning, AI, this comes from the 50s. So it's been a long time, but now we have data. And we also have computing power through the cloud available to run our algorithms. And finally, our algorithms are advancing, of course. So a few words about each of these forces. We are getting really good in generating data. It's sometimes we usually thought about the enterprise as the big producer of data. They are, but or we are. But there are other drivers. So our conversations on VoIP, and especially our interactions in social media, we are big producers. But really, the big amount of data, the volume comes from IoT, from our sensors. So our world is being digitalized. And there's a lot of applications that we can think about using all this data. But talking about cloud and the computing power that we have, usually, and I work a lot of with cloud, not only AI, but the industry have a very simplistic way to see cloud. Why? Because we used to think about the cloud as a big data center somewhere being held by a big company, and that allows us not to think about having our own machines. So this is the simple definition. And this is so far away from the reality today. Why? Because those same sensors that I just talked about that are generating data, they are becoming intelligent. They can run our models today. So part of the compute power of the cloud are now on the edge. So it's quite the opposite. We thought about the computing, the workloads being run centralized in a data center. So it's quite the opposite. Now you have the computing power distributed everywhere. So if you have a smart phone, a smart watch, a smart whatever in your body today, you are connected to the cloud and you are expanding this intelligent cloud. In fact, you are the cloud. So think about it. And finally, the last point, it's about how we are advancing algorithms. I brought one that I liked a lot on reinforced learning. And we love to use games, right? To show how good we are in AI and machine learning. The Pac-Man, not a big deal to win Pac-Man. But there was some interesting concepts on advancing algorithms, because usually people think about an intelligent agent making the right decisions. But in fact, in this particular case, it was 153 agents, each using reinforced learning. So each one has an opinion on where the Pac-Man should go, and how they were motivated by their opinion. And as you know, in reinforced learning, it's a rewarding system. So they kind of measure what would be the reward to go in that direction, or the cost if they hit into a phantom. So that's pretty cool, but only shows how we are advancing in some techniques like reinforced learning. And this particular field will have a big impact on stock market, and even for simple things like self-training bots. When we want the system to decide what should be learned or not from the interactions with user, for example. So it's whenever there's a decision making to be made. Okay, enough about amplification. Let's go to the second point that I said. This is very important. So if we understand that there's a big impact coming from this technology, we need to make it available to everybody. So there are different ways to do that. I will show just one that we decided to do. The way we organize our platform, we start with pre-built AI. And this is pretty intuitive. If you build anything in the physical world or in the digital world, you never start from the scratch. No matter how genius you are, you will always use some pre-built something to make you more productive. So what happens here is whenever we identify a repeatable pattern, we will wrap up some models into a service, and we call it a cognitive service, but you can call it anything. The other thing is you have to have a really robust conversational framework, because that's the expectation of our users. Our users want to make use of the natural language capabilities. So you have to have cool technology there, either for voice, text, gestures, whatever. And finally, whenever we go geek and we want to build our own models, we have to have good toolings for that. We need to have to be productive, scalable, and this is like a puxão de orelha for all of us, because when we think about machine learning and AI, at least that's my feeling, that we leave behind a little bit about the engineering discipline that we used to have when we built the normal classic solutions apps. Because before we thought a lot about source code, source control, DevOps, CI, CD, automated tests, and I don't see a lot of that in our industry on machine learning and AI. So don't forget about that. And we're doing a lot to build tools so that doesn't hinder your progress and you have all of that. I won't be able to touch that because there's no time. I'll focus a little bit more on the pre-build, but we can discuss, and just add me in LinkedIn, Twitter, we can discuss about any topic you want. So let's talk about a little bit about the pre-built AI. I like to do live demos, but the conversation is short, so I didn't want to spend too much time. So we just happened to organize some of the services into categories. Vision, you can think about models that identify a face, an object, or moderate an image. On the speech, speech to text, text to speech, or who's speaking. In the language, which language Fabio is speaking, how to translate that to any other language. On the knowledge, you have models that identify patterns or relationships, or any intelligence extraction from data you can think about in this particular category. And finally, all the models that do search. And search is such an old use case for AI. We didn't know we use AI before when we started using our internet searches, but probably that was one of the most popular user, the first one. So let's see a few. If you're interested, you can just go, and other companies have services too. But in case of the company that I work, if you want to go to this portal, Cognitive Service, Microsoft Cognitive Service, you see all the categories that I just mention, and you can do all the demonstrations that I'll do here by yourself. You don't even need to code. The portal is pretty nice for testing. If I chose the vision category, there are a bunch of APIs. I'll start with the computer vision. So you can upload your image, and that just tests what it how the analysis is, if you like or not. But and you get a JSON out of it with a lot of elements identifying this particular image, which is not an easy image to identify. You see a train, a platform, a station, and the confidence level, 99, 99, 97. So you can play around with your own image and compare different services, or compare with your model that you happen to be working in TensorFlow or CNTK, whatever. But there are some more abstract elements like race score, and this is pretty important in some use case. What is the chance of that image containing some race content or an adult content? So it's all out of the box. As I told you, the more repeatable the pattern, the more the chance for us to wrap up into an API. And we make all these APIs trainable. So, of course, there are all the OCR and handwritten identification. Okay, let's see another one. I'm almost running out of time. The video indexer is pretty cool because there are at least 10, 11 modules there. You can upload your videos and play around. Here you have all the people that are here. I just uploaded one of my videos. You have all the people identifying, so you can navigate directly to the point in the video that that person starts speaking. You have the entities automatically identify. Of course, you can create some ontology, a dictionary to make it easy, but this was just out of the box. For example, a keyword crystal ball, and then I can go directly to the first time someone talks about crystal ball, the second time. Of course, there's all the sentiment analysis for the entire video, and you can automatically transcribe to any language you want. There's a lot. Okay, the final one, Louis talked about the Silicon Valley. So the episode of Jin Young building the not a hot dog. Have you watched it? That's pretty fun, huh? And well, basically, Jin Young spent a lot of time to do that. And in 5 minutes, I just created a model that would identify pizza, pasta, and hot dog. It was really 5 minutes. You can do by yourself in your custom vision only 5 pictures, and you can have that category pretty much covered. In my example, you had 99% in the hot dog, 94. The pasta was not that good, but it was good for five pictures, and 96 on the pizza. So just test it. You can do with anything. It's pretty cool. We have a lot of fun with that. Usually when we go to a client and we learn that client like I don't know, arts. We quickly train in different arts schools, and we go like in 5 minutes. We have an AI solution that is demo. It's ready to show. Okay, so the other one, this is cool too. It's public, Jfk Files. As you know, after the president was killed, there was a lot of conspiracy theory, and then the government of United States decided to make available all those files this year. They started last year. So we started we love data, right? So if someone who makes available like a room full of documents, of course we will use it to play. And that's what we did. We created a solution. If we start with, and that solution uses a lot of those cognitive services that I mentioned to you. If we start from the beginning with Oswald, the killer, you see that the solution will retrieve all the reference. It could be a handwritten like that. It could be pictures of Oswald because we're using a face identification. It could be even some code names that CIA used to use, like GP-Floor. We create graphs of relationships. And talking about graphs is pretty interesting because it automatically creates connections between the entities. For example, we know that Oswald has a relationship with, I don't know, with this lady, Sylvia Duran, that happened to be an agent in the consulate of Cuba in Mexico. So there you go. You can have the whole story and navigate that. And it's interesting because it's all in GitHub. You can create your, let's say you're John. You can create your John files with whatever you have. And you can search your name. So maybe you can find some reference about you or your family. We better not, right? We searched for things about Microsoft, and we found it, but only our product, SQL Server. That's because CIA used SQL to store all those documents. Anyway. Okay, enough. I won't talk much about bots because the conversational AI, because bots is everywhere. But there's an important thing that I want to say about bots. You know, bots is a big hype. And there are some really important elements that we are just leaving behind. First, We are working a lot to build the best bots, the nicest, the most beautiful, those that can answer anything. But the really importance of bots is they need to be able to help your user to complete the transaction better than the traditional channels. So for me, Fabio, if using a phone call, I can complete it transactionally in a better way than a bot, I wouldn't use a bot, even if I build it. So you have to think about that. The bot is really just the channel of natural language connection. But the importance of the bot is in the brain of the bot, how we build their intelligence. And we use a lot of cognitive services or our own model to build the brain. So think about, when you think about bot, think if the bot will be as good or much better than the current channel that your user have. If not, just don't waste your time. Okay, so the last point, we are pretty excited with machine learning, AI, and all the impact that it can bring to us, but we want to do it in a responsible way. And there are a few design principles that we need to follow. And so just a few words about that. Fairness. So we need to guard our models against bias. And this is pretty difficult. It would require another PAPIs just to talk about bias, because it's difficult. Why? Because we use data sets that we create, humans, and humans have a lot of bias, unfortunately. So we need to be smart enough to remove the bias that we create ourselves from our models, create toolings or create techniques that would avoid that. Second, transparency. We don't want a black box. You don't want, your user don't want. So you have to be very transparent. GitHub for everything. Let's open our codes. Finally, accountability. Whatever I build, whatever you build, you have to be responsible for the impact. So we have a responsibility for the impact on whatever we build using this new technology in our society. And finally, privacy. Our users, there's only machine learning and AI with data. And but we need to be responsible how we use, if we need to identify or not a user, or if the user have control on the data, and if they choose to be part of that data set. So there's a lot of, and this is a theme for a workshop, maybe as a conference. So it's just a few words that I wanted to bring to you, because don't think only about the technology aspects, but think about the impact and our responsibility on using this. So on the AI for good theme, the one that I like the most is that if we think that AI can amplify our capabilities, think about what they can do for those that have disabilities. So we can build solutions that can help a blind person to see the world. We can build a solution that just connects people better from any place in the world, removing any language barriers. So those two solutions that I just mentioned, they exist. You can play and download in your cell phone. We have Seeing AI and the Microsoft Translator. Those are good AI solutions, free, that you can test. I'll show just a little bit about how Seeing AI works, but you can download it and play there.
Seeing AI is a Microsoft research project for people with visual impairments. The app narrates the world around you by turning the visual world into an audible experience. Point your phone's camera, select a channel, and hear a description. The app recognizes saved friends.
Jenny near top right, 3 feet away.
Describes the people around you, including their emotions.
28-year-old female wearing glasses looking happy.
It reads text out loud as it comes into view, like on an envelope.
Ken Lawrence, P.O. Box.
Or a room entrance.
Conference 2005.
Or scan and read documents like books and letters. The app will guide you and recognize the text with its formatting.
Top and left edge is not visible. Hold steady. Lease agreement. This agreement.
When paying with cash, the app identifies currency bills.
$20 US.
When looking for something in your pantry or at the store, Use the barcode scanner with audio cues to help you find what you want.
Campbell's tomato soup.
When available, hear additional product details.
Heated microwave bowl on height.
And even hear descriptions of images in other apps like Twitter by importing them into Seeing AI.
A close-up of Bill Gates.
Finally, explore our experimental features like scene descriptions to get a glimpse of the future.
I think it's a young girl throwing a frisbee in the park.
Experience the world around you with the Seeing AI app from Microsoft.
So it's available in Brazil. I think it's been a month, and I have it here on my cell phone. Let's see if you can hear. You cannot hear, but it recognizes me. You can, the blind person can add a picture of their friends. So there's not only the information on distance and if I'm smiling or color of my head, but they can recognize and see how far or how near. So there are a lot of features, and we are constantly adding new channels to that. It's not only a very social-oriented solution, but it's a pretty cool way to test some new techniques too. So we just talked about how AI can help us to understand better our world and to do things that we couldn't before. And of course, we keep evolving. There are new forces that are pushing AI to the next level. One of it is quantum computing. Of course, we won't be able to talk about that now, but think about it with some very special properties of quantum, like superposition, interference, entanglement. You're going to be able to model very complex things, especially nature. Chemistry, for example, we can think about creating new products like fertilizers or compounds that can remove pollution particles from the air, or creating new materials, semiconductors, and of course, to advance in our machine learning algorithms. So this is the word we leave today. The reflection that I leave to you is, what is our role? What is your role in this new era? So thanks a lot. Good job.
Yes, I think we have time for 2 questions from the audience to see if anybody wants to do a question for Fabio. My friend Abelardo here will pass the mic to you. So just please raise your hand if you have a question. Nobody? No way. Don't be shy. Se você tem uma pergunta, pode fazer em português. A gente não precisa ser em inglês, não.
Eu entendo ainda.
Perguntas para o Fábio? Lá tem uma, e a outra já tá uma aqui, e a outra ali no canto já temos as duas.
Oi, Fábio. Bom dia. Uma das coisas mais legais que a gente tem na comunidade Machine Learning é a capacidade de colaborar. Tá? E com essa notícia enorme agora do GitHub pela Microsoft, como é que fica essa parte da colaboração que é tão importante para a comunidade?
Bom, o assunto de GitHub foi bastante... foi bastante explorado, eu diria, nas últimas semanas. Não só na indústria, mas no meu próprio networking, os meus amigos também. A Microsoft hoje é o maior contribuidor já do GitHub em termos de... should I speak in English or can I go with Portuguese now? Okay. So it's about GitHub. I'll be very short. We love GitHub. So our operation is heavily based on GitHub. Today we are big contributors. We have a lot of open source projects there. We are always opening our code. So that's a very different Microsoft from the past. And we don't intend to change the nature of GitHub. And you can tell me, you can send me a message 1-2 years from now and see if I was right or not. But there's no reason for any change. Actually, Microsoft can add some muscle to the organization, to the GitHub organization, in order to to make it better, but not change the nature of a collaboration. If you think about, we couldn't talk about the way we are opening our technology, But if you think about Onyx now, that can make you run your, and that we did with Facebook. You can just create a model in any toolkit that you want and port to another one. It could be from a competitor. That's the new mindset of Microsoft. And that only talks about how we see GitHub. And even if you go to some of the communities, the Linux community, just issue a communication for everybody saying they are supportive of the acquisition because they know Microsoft understands the nature of GitHub and can help maintain and grow the community. Okay? So we can talk in a few years about that, but I'm pretty positive on that.
We have next question on the left.
Hi, Fabio.
Olá.
You talked all about privacy, and you as a Microsoft platform that you have a lot of trained models already. How Microsoft deal with this amount of publicity data, and how did you build a lot of already trained model with this public data? So, how do you deal with the privacy?
Right. Okay. So well, it's not only on the AI. Any big cloud provider has to have this this data privacy figured out. Otherwise, we couldn't host data from any person. Yeah. So it's not only the data we use to train our models. So Microsoft has a very firm position in using data. In fact, Microsoft has some process. What is the name in English? Processes against the U.S. government, just because the government requested to open a few accounts for investigation purpose. And even with that purpose, Microsoft deny and are prosecuting the government. So you cannot live as a cloud provider if you are not very strong. And if you, I don't know if you follow that, but the GDPR guidance in Europe, which is very tough guidelines for data handling, it's Microsoft was one of the first companies to move on that direction, and basically there's a lot of influence on how strong those guidelines are from some of the papers that Microsoft issued.
Thank you.
Sure.
Ok, vamos agradecer mais uma vez com grande aplauso. Thank you so much, Fabio.
Obrigado.
Thank you. It was a great speech. Thank you very much.
Obrigado, pessoal.